Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for joining today's stream. It is 28th of August. Summer is almost gone, though. I mean, that was quick. 3 p.m. here in Moscow, now, middle of the day, and this is my second video for today, second program. First one was published early in the morning on my Patreon and Boosty pages, and dear friends, in case you want to support my work and they're also you know take a look at that first updates that I make. Please join our communities on Patreon and Boosty. Will be great support, of course. Although I have to mention, dear friends, that just a subscription is not really helping this program, um, because almost every day, every other day, people are subscribing, but there is an option there, isn't it? Free subscription, which is not really helping their creator, and there is a paid subscription. So if you are paid subscriber, then you are a Patreon of the project you actually support. If you are a free subscriber, I appreciate, of course, your attention, but you would not be able to have access to video because free subscription uh, does not give you their access, and it just makes people confused, right? Because if someone opens the page, they see 500 subscribers or 400 something subscribers, and one might think, well, I mean, there is massive community here. In reality, our community on Patreon is only 131, right? Actual Patreons, and only 12 on a Boosty, by the way. So therefore, my apologies that I have to specify, but if you actually want to support through Patreon, you have to become a Patreon paid subscriber, not a free subscriber. Just saying, by the way, because I see every day these free subscriptions, and I don't know what to make of it, right? Because then a member of community might get upset on me, right? That you know what, I subscribed and I cannot have access to video. I mean, where is the videos? Videos are visible when you are actually Patreon. So that's been said, dear friends. That's being said. Happy Friday. It's a Friday, isn't it? Finally, man. After this live stream, I will try to have some rest. I'll stay away from freaking news. Maybe I'll have a couple of beers, man, or something. I don't know. Um, Friday is Friday, isn't it? Everywhere. And I'm opening now, just in case, Boosty and my Patreon. If there is a new subscribers during the live stream, of course, I will highlight. And if there are going to be new subscribers tomorrow, for example, I will highlight that through, anyways, right? You see, Timbuktu is commenting, Levan, have you considered a sponsorship deal in your live stream? Each day, 2 minutes advertising, you poster the adverter halfway through stream, maybe online business. Well, of course, I did consider some sort of collaboration with the companies that might want to do some advertising. But point is that only proposals that I received was from Western companies, and I'm not gonna advertise Western company because that very same company may be financing Kiev regime or Kiev regime's forces, right? So therefore, I don't want to have anything to do. Definitely don't want to do business directly or indirectly with such a companies, and because I cannot check, because I cannot make sure that this company is actually clean, right, and has nothing to do with this war that Western elites are waging against Russia, I'm not even responding to the proposals that I received from their some small or medium-sized Western companies. Usually, it's like VPN advertisings, and there was, I remember there was a water advertising company, and then some that kind of stuff, right? I'm not responding to that. If Russian company, any Russian company that I actually can check and also make sure that whatever they are advertising is really, really good. I mean, if Russian company will do something like that, I will be happy, man. Will be great. But unfortunately, here in Russia, public relations are on such a level, on such abysmal level that I never had no proposal from Russian company in during the 4 years period. By the way, I have on and I can advertise if I have a, for example, deal. I will advertise on all my platforms, right? On YouTube, Rumble, Telegram, Twitter X, and what everywhere, just everywhere, right? That will be the deal. And on YouTube alone, I have like 8, 9 million views, more than 8 million views for sure, right? More than million views on Rumble. And then when it comes to views on my posts on Telegram and Twitter X, it's in millions too, maybe in tens of millions. I have no freaking idea really. So even though my project is a small one, well, potentially there is some window there, right, for a small advertising contract. Uh, for example, if one of the Russian companies will give me like $500 in a month, I will advertise that company as long as I'm sure that their advertising is correct, accurate, right? But there was not a single proposal, you see, from Russia, which is unfortunate. Which is unfortunate, but yet again, that's just the way it is, right? So unfortunately, I'm not gonna have no advertising. It looks like, uh, but the idea is a good one, but it's just can't work out here. Anyways, dear friends, as you know, you can initiate conversation about any topic you like during the stream or even before the stream starts, right? You can send your question or commentary about topic that you want to be discussed after the news segment, either through PayPal, either through Boosty, or during the live streams you can use super chat feature, of course, for that. And I will react after the news segment. I'll try my best to be informative in my response. Okay, all the links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And without further delay, let's go for a news. I prepared, I think, interesting program for you, friends. Interesting news update. And well, I will start. I will start with uh, I will start with this update from TASS News Agency, which is based on Russian Defense Ministry's report that during the week, this week, Russian armed forces liberated 7 settlements on the different sectors of the front line. These are Pershetrauner, Pisarevka, Anovka, Kucherev Yar, Dolinka, Nezhenka, and Shevchenkovskaya. Shevchenkovskaya was liberated like in past 24, 48 hours. I reported about it yesterday, isn't it? About liberation of that settlement. When it comes to map difference, there is some interesting updates on the line of contact in the past 12 hours, for example, 24 hours. Number of videos start circulating online about presence of Kiev regime's forces in the central part of this settlement, Malaya Takmachka settlement on the southeastern side of Orekhov city, which is a central part basically of Zaporozhye sector. As you can see, this is all Zaporozhye sector, right? And this is a central part, Orekhov. And straight away speculations were launched out there on internet that you see Kiev regime managed to reclaim half of the territory of Malaya Takmachka settlement and this and that. And well, in reality, nothing of that kind has happened. I was monitoring the reports on this matter, and I guess there was actually some DRGs of Kiev regime that infiltrated the settlement, and there was video on which you can see elimination of this DRG in the central part, somewhat central part of Malaya Takmachka. But to say that western northern western part of the settlement is under Kiev regime's control is exaggeration big time. It's just the DRG, by the way. Whenever Russian DRGs are appearing in any place, I never made the claim that this settlement now under Russian control. I'm operating exactly the opposite way. I'm saying that this is DRGs, by the way. Presence of Russian DRGs does not mean that settlement is already being liberated, right? Forward units of the Russian forces are on such a distance yet. That's how I present the news, right? But some other channels out there. They have different approach here. For them, existence of DRGs already means more than it is actually. So uh, I guess Mala Takmachka is under Russian control, although of course it is possible that some small groups might infiltrate the territory, and they might even raise the flag or something like that. It would not mean anything really, right? Just a media stand, PR stand. So Mala Takmachka is under Russian control, and when it comes to Orechov direction itself, actually there are a number of sources that are reporting that Russian troops further improving their positions in the southeastern part of the city, and this foothold that Russian militaries had in the Orechov is expanding tremendously. Just look, all this territory that is in the gray zone now, by the way, is under Russian control or disputed, right? Mostly under Russian control. And Russian troops basically are already operating in the central part of the city, close to the central part of the city, right? So progress of the Russian forces in the Orechov direction is really, really quite impressive, to say the least. Also, dear friends, when it comes to battlefield, I want to share with you updates about situation in a DPR, this northern eastern corner, northern western corner of the DPR, where Kyiv regime still has its presence. And well, I saw reports this morning about further progress of the Russian armed forces in Drushkovka, Alexeyevo Drushkovka settlement direction, and yet again Russian troops are basically in a central part of this city also, which is of course big stronghold of a Kyiv regime right now in this direction. No, maybe not as important as Drushkovka city itself, but nevertheless, this is an important developments that are happening there. And also, when it comes to another stronghold, Dabropolye, well, there are reports. I mean, don't look at this map. This map is has a very lazy administrators, by the way. They updated map with significant delay. But I've seen reports about significant progress of the Russian armed forces in Dabropolye settlement. The southern part of this city allegedly is already under Russian control, and the northern part too. And if this is the case, and allegedly Russian troops already are in Svetogorovka settlement, right? And if this is true, then I guess we are observing creation of a cauldron, yet another cauldron, in which God knows how many hundred or maybe even how many thousand Kyiv regime's troops gonna end up in the most central part of the Dabropolye city itself. So I think this is important developments. If all these reports are correct, looks like defensive lines of Kyiv regime in Dabropolye collapsed, and we might see in Dabropolye somewhat similar story as we see in the Kharkov region when Belikolodets settlement become under Russian control. Remember, there was a lot of talks that Belikolodets has a massive garrison of Kyiv regime and they're gonna stand their ground for many, many months. And what happened in reality? Russian troops entered the settlement, and then literally in 24 to 48 hours, defense lines of Kyiv regime collapsed in the city, and Russian and town become under full Russian control. So something similar looks like is happening in Dabropolye too. I mean, we will see. We will see in next several days. Definitely we will have more details to have a better knowledge of the situation. But would not be surprised at all if maybe on Monday or maybe Tuesday or something, Russian defense minister will say, yeah, Dabropolye is under Russian control. Now, could be case, might happen. And also, dear friends, Russian armed forces are conducting offensive operations in the direction of this airfield southeast of Kramatorsk settlement. Russian troops are now conducting clearing operation in this forestry area, this fortified line here up front of airport, and it well might be that already this weekend we will receive reports about battles actually on the territory of this airfield. Might be the case, although this is open area, and I don't know, it's going to be a very difficult fight. Obviously, any fight is difficult, but mean, to fight in open terrain, something extraordinary, obviously, especially nowadays when airspace is so saturated with FPV drones and stuff. So we will see what is going to happen. But I personally was surprised to see this news that Russian troops are conducting operations to establish control over this airfield, which is you can see difference located there, like on outskirts of Kramatorsk city itself. And when it comes to Slavyansk and Kramatorsk, in past several days, I spent quite a time sharing my take about this last fortified, major fortified area of Kiev regime in the DPR. And in next 2 3 weeks time, we will see if my reading of the big picture is correct or not. If I am correct there, okay. If I'm not correct, then I myself will acknowledge that I miscalculated something and my prediction was not good enough. But as of now, indicators are out there that yeah, maybe what I was saying about Slavyansk, potentially Kramatorsk, I mean Slavyansk, Kramatorsk together, may become a reality in next several weeks time. Anyways, let's continue. Let's continue with some other news. And RIA Novosti and a number of other media outlets are reporting that Kiev regime has launched basically evacuation from Kherson city, which is, of course, located on the west bank of the Dnieper River. Used to be controlled by Russian militaries, of course. But you remember, at some point, due to issues with logistics and stuff, Russian troops or Russian militaries decided that they're gonna fortify left bank of the river, establish new positions there. So they withdraw from Kherson. This is Kherson, of course, and formally, Kiev regime is justifying evacuation with their lack of capabilities to provide people there with electricity or heating during the winter time. Might be the case, but we know Kiev regime, right? They don't care about ordinary citizens. They don't care about lives of the people. So therefore, something else might be the actual reason why they are now pushing for mass evacuation from Kherson. Maybe they know something. Maybe Russian troops are planning to conduct some sectoral scale offensive in this direction. I have not seen no reports about preparations for that, but you never know. You just never know. After all, Kiev regime is declaring evacuation for a reason, right? Also, of course, during the past night and throughout the day today, early in the morning, there was waves upon waves of Russian long-range strikes on the military and logistical infrastructure, the Kiev regime energy infrastructure that is related to military capabilities of this regime. And we have some updates on that. Past night, Russian armed forces continued to carry out group strikes on logistics centers and seaports operating in the interests of the Kiev regime. As forces, Russian Defense Ministry reported about it. We have some specifics even. So in the Kiev region, their Stellar Jet warehouse complex was struck in past 12 hours, which was housing long-range Flamingo cruise missiles and fuel for the boosters of that British missile that Flamingo is actually, although they are putting label made in Ukraine, and the Western world is eating this nonsense, right? Western brainwashed part of the society is actually believing in that nonsense that, well, this is a Ukrainian rocket, right? Ukrainian missile, just because it says made in Ukraine. In reality, British missile. So warehouse where these flamingos were stored were destroyed. And when it comes to flamingos, by the way, I want to share with you information that this week 14 flamingos were intercepted, I believe, right? Probably I bookmarked even the news about it somewhere there, so maybe I will get to that news. But if I remember correctly, 14 flamingos were intercepted throughout the week. Clearly, we are observing increase in deployment of these missiles against Russia. And this was expected, of course. This was expected. I was talking about it, and unfortunately, yet another prediction of mine is becoming reality in this regard. But anyways, let's continue. In the port of Odessa, Russian forces targeted their six storage facilities containing property intended for Kiev regime's armed forces. That's in during the nighttime strikes. The Ministry of Defense has repeatedly emphasized that its forces are targeting infrastructure and to reduce their enemies' military and economic potential. They are using attack drones, and long-range precision weapons capable of destroying any target both in Kiev and throughout the Kiev-controlled territory. Okay, we know that. So also, when it comes to Russian long-range retaliatory strikes, we have reports that, for example, in Sviato-Petrovsk, near Kiev, a Nova Pochta warehouse, Nova Pochta logistical center was destroyed. Nova Pochta is a clearly 100%, million percent legit target, by the way. Kiev regime and its NATO backers. Western propaganda might pretend or try to paint the picture that Nova Pochta is a civilian infrastructure, but this is anything but civilian. There are so many videos and photo materials that I myself published also on my Telegram, for example, right? Where you can see Nova Pochta trucks being used to transfer all sorts of weapons, including armored vehicles. So it is legit target. I can just say it's sad that only now Russian military has received green light to go after Nova Pochta big time and other so-called civilian companies on the Kiev-controlled territory that are militarized long time now, right? But anyways, it's better than never, right? So Nova Pochta logistical center was eliminated in Kiev outskirts. You can see some of the screenshots with the aftermath. Clearly, probably nothing was left from that warehouse. Also, Nova Pochta logistical center was eliminated in the Sumy region. Also, you can see on your screen some of the aftermath of these Russian long-range attacks. In addition, in the Kharkov region, by the way, just several hours ago, shopping center was eliminated, according to reports from Kiev-controlled territory. A local channels report fire after drone strike on the Caravan shopping center. There is also heavy smoke that is coming out from the area. And you know, dear friends, when it comes to the shopping mall, shopping centers, what Kiev regime does, they use underground part of these shopping centers, car parks, basically, to store weapons, to establish drone assembly lines, right? And therefore, it is absolutely legit target. There are numerous video and photo confirmations that these enterprises are used for military purposes. So no matter how much Western propaganda gonna cry, in reality, this is absolutely legit targets and should be eliminated, of course. Epicenter is another chain of hypermarkets in Ukraine that are militarized, used there by Kiev regime to store weapons, to move around weapons and munition and everything else. And in Zaporozhye, last existing epicenter warehouse were eliminated in the past 12 hours, early this morning, actually. By the way, you can see on your screen massive fire. I mean, some screenshots with a massive fire from the area. And this infrastructure was completely destroyed. Russian Defense Ministry also shared information about Russian long-range precision strikes on military and logistical infrastructure of the enemy during the day yesterday, right? I can give you some details on that too. And so, because, you know, I have a live streams at 3 p.m., right? And then next live stream, I mean, next my program, news update is in the early morning, usually on my Patreon and Booster, right? And so our bigger community that watches my programs on YouTube and Rumble will have our next update after basically 24 hours, after, you know, when 3 p.m. comes around again, right, here in Moscow. So, of course, a lot of things are happening during that time, including daytime. And so yesterday afternoon and evening, Russian armed forces delivered a concentrated strike against the Ukrainian defense industry enterprises, logistics centers, as well as seaports and the vessels involved in supporting the Kiev regime's forces. In the Kiev region, for example, industrial enterprise in Velika Alexandrovka, LLC Ukr Defense Company, involved in the production of reconnaissance and strike ground robotic complexes, Luther and ground remotely controlled modules. Kijak was destroyed, targeted at least, hopefully completely destroyed. Also, transport and logistics center in the city of Brovary, the Raven, Ukraine, that's name of that infrastructure, transport and logistics complex used for storing and distributing components for various type of drones, including aircraft type drones. So there was yesterday afternoon and evening also long range strikes in the Kiev region. When it comes to Odessa region, in the port of Izmail, which is on the Danube River in Odessa region, a tanker was struck by Russian forces that was unloading at the time, which had delivered or attempting to deliver fuel and lubricants to Kiev regime to enhance its military capabilities. Also, two fuel tanks were targeted in the same area. In port of Odessa, 7 storage facilities containing military equipment intended for their supplying their Kiev regime's forces were also eliminated. In addition, workshop for assembling unmanned aerial vehicles was hit in the port of Odessa. So this is a constant waves, by the way. And as of now, Russian maritime blockade stands. Some vessels are managing to bypass this maritime blockade that Russia introduced on the Kiev regime as a response for a terrorist activity of Ukrainian Nazis and the fascists and their Western backers, US, UK, France, Germany, and the rest. And on this matter of maritime blockade, we have today this update that Russian forces struck 8 vessels operating in the interests of Kiev regime's forces throughout the week. 8 vessels, not a massive number, of course, not a massive number, but still indicates that maritime blockade is in force. Although, unfortunately, due to certain reasons, I'm afraid in next week or two, Russian president will order Russian militaries and security services to ease the pressure on the Kiev regime and maybe even stop this maritime blockade. Next week or two, next several weeks, going to be pretty much decisive in understanding of a big picture, right? In terms of better understanding the big picture. We will see what is going to happen. But as of now, maritime blockade is in force. And this week alone, 8 vessels that were attempting to deliver certain goods to enhance military capabilities of Kiev regime were neutralized. Also, interesting news, I think, that El Mundo media outlet, I guess Spanish media outlet, right? Something that familiar, El Mundo, but probably Spanish media outlet, reported that Ukrainian forces complained that Russian electronic warfare systems are jamming the Starlink. Well, how interesting, isn't it? Remember, there was an entire propaganda campaign, by the way, I think financed by Elon Musk himself or his PR team, when allegedly, according to Western propaganda, Zelensky was almost begging Elon Musk to allow him and his forces to use Starlink against Russia, right? And I was commenting on that. I was saying, what the hell, man? Starlinks are literally daily involved in Kiev regime's terrorist activity against Russian people. Starlink plays key role, actually, when it comes to these terrorist attacks of Kiev regime and its NATO backers. So initially, I was wondering, what the hell is going on, man? Everybody knows that Starlink is used in the drones, right? To navigate with the drones. Starlink is used for communications by Kiev regime. So how come that Zelensky is kind of begging now, according to Western propaganda, Elon Musk to allow him to use his satellite internet? And then, well, I come up with the explanation that probably this is a media campaign financed by Elon Musk himself, because he wants to clear his name, or wanted at least, right? Attempted to clear his name because everyone understands that Elon Musk is guilty of death of numerous civilians in Russia and elsewhere too. And I guess Elon Musk did not want to be associated with the mass killing of the civilians, war crimes, right? And he financed this campaign to create this false narrative that somehow Starlink is not involved in these attacks on civilians. And you see, Zelensky is begging to give him opportunity to use Starlink, when in reality, of course, they are using Starlink, man. Of course, everyone knows that. There's how many drones were destroyed, intercepted by Russian forces with the Starlink dish on it, right? But well, in the Western world, this type of cheap shots probably will work because majority of society in the West has already been brainwashed. They will buy into anything. If Fox News or CNN or BBC or all of them, man, and all the others will tell Western public that, you know what, all Russians are aliens. They came from Andromeda galaxy and want to occupy whole planet. I'm positive, by the way, majority of people in the West will believe in that shit. Honestly, man. I mean, I really think majority in the West will believe in that. That's the level of brainwashing of the public in the West, right? So these kind of cheap shots, yeah, in the West it will work, but for the rest of the world and for the informed part of the Western societies, is probably like not just total nonsense, but people were probably asking, "What the hell, man? You know, what the hell is going on? Why, why you are doing this nonsense, right?" But anyways, now you see, because this false PR campaign based on false narratives, I guess either did not work or Elon Musk was not happy or something. They shifted their narratives. Just a few days ago, Zelensky give their medal, one of the highest medals of Ukraine, to Elon Musk for all the support that he provided for Ukrainian Nazis and fascists. And now El Mundo is saying that, well, you see, Kiev regime is complaining that Russians are effectively jamming Starlink. If Starlink is not being used, then how Russians are jamming it, right? According to a publication, the Valna Kupol Garant radio electronic suppression complex is causing critical problems for Starlink, according to co-founder of Ukrainian Center for Air Reconnaissance Support, Igor Lutsenko. The window of opportunity for Starlink is closing, and Russian interference is significantly reducing the effectiveness of a communication for Kiev regimes while using this Starlink network. And well, this is a good news. Either way, I mean, this is a good news that Russian engineers are coming up with new ways and means to suppress Starlink. And today, by the way, I also saw this report that Russia has begun serial production of anti-Starlink system. So-called, I mean, it's a so-called anti-Starlink. It's just a radio electronic warfare system, right? But that can jump Starlink too. Valna Kupon Garant, exactly. The Valna Kupol Garant electronic warfare system has entered the serial production in Russia, defense industry source told the TASS news agency. And well, good, man. Good, great, actually. Right? I was saying for a long time we have to do something with the Starlinker. And I will always say that we have to open criminal case against Elon Musk and everybody that works in SpaceX and Starlink, and do whatever we can to eliminate those mass murderers, no matter how long it will take. But all of them have to be eliminated because they are mass murderers, literally mass murderers. And there is no mercy for such creatures. And same have to be done to all the other so-called companies in the West that are directly involved in a mass killing of the Russian citizens, Russian civilians, and civilians in other parts of the world. We have to eliminate these animals, right? I refuse to call them humans because not everybody is a human that looks like one. Let's be clear on that. They are freaking animals, man, and they have to be treated as rabid animals. What we do to rabid animals, we put them to the sleep. That's what have to be done to all those war criminals, by the way, right? From Elon Musk to all the other garbage out there. For sure, 100%, by the way, right? But news is good. News is good that Russian engineers, Russian militaries, Russian military industrial complex have this additional means to suppress this terrorist capabilities of this terrorist organization that Starlink and the SpaceX is. Also, dear friends, let me continue with some other news. And RIA Novosti is reporting that during the nighttime, 512 drones were intercepted by Russian air defense forces over their numerous Russian regions, mostly European parts of the Russian region. Of course, big number of drones that were launched to strike deep into Russian territory. But at this point, none of us are surprised. We all understand that these dozens of countries from collective West, from NATO, are directly involved in the mass production of these weapons that are used against Russian people, mass production of all sorts of other means that are used against Russians, and also intelligence flight path targeting data is also from the West, right? So therefore, because NATO is not demilitarized, NATO member states, majority of them at least, are not demilitarized, and because there is no deterrent in place, and Western elites feel like they can do literally anything with total impunity. Every day, every night, Russian militaries are facing, and Russian society, by the way, is facing these long-range attacks that would never happen if there was deterrence in place, right? Also, we have reports, and yes, I mentioned there just like a few minutes ago, isn't it, dear friends, that Russian air defense forces intercepted 14 Flamingo, British designed and made Flamingo cruise missiles that were launched to strike deep into Russian territory. This is just in a week. And unfortunately, I mean, it is just too obvious, right, given the statistics that number of launches of these cruise missiles are increasing practically on weekly basis now. And I'm afraid at some point we will if this conflict continues, if there is no Minsk-free sort of agreement in place, and if Moscow will not restore the terms with the collective West, then in that case, at some point, in few months' time, maybe max, we will see days when possibly 50, 100 Flamingo cruise missiles are launched to strike deep into Russia, or some other long-range missiles. This is just a trajectory. One don't have to be genius to understand this, right? And alongside from Flamingo missiles, Russian armed forces, Russian air defense forces intercepted 5,989 drones that were produced by NATO member states and launched by direct involvement of a NATO member states to strike deep into Russian territory. Almost 6,000 drones, by the way, until this morning. And today is only Friday. All right, so tomorrow, day after tomorrow, probably another 1,000, another 1,500 potentially drones will be launched to strike deep into Russia, right? And overall number of drones that were intercepted by Russian forces this week alone will reach around 7,000. That's big, isn't it? That's tremendous, tremendous risk, man. You can imagine how many lives being saved by Russian air defense forces. If it was up to me, man, I would give all of them and everybody that is in Russian air defenses orders, by the way, medals and their thanks from all the society, right? Because they are saving thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of lives, by the way, every freaking week. That's what they do, man. They are saving tens of thousands of lives every week, every day, actually. Also, dear friends, there was another attack orchestrated by British secret services and British militaries with assistance of US colleagues of theirs on a vessel in the Black Sea. Let me find the news about it. Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Well, this is another news, sir, but there were reports, by the way, that another Turkish vessel was targeted in the Black Sea that was heading towards Russia. A vessel left Samsun Porter on the Black Sea coast of Turkey and was heading towards Novorossiysk, I believe, and it was targeted by formerly Kiev regime drones. In reality, obviously, British drones, and the entire this terrorist operation was planned by Brits. And what is also interesting, another vessel in the Black Sea was also struck and sunk, actually, caught fire and then sunk in economical zone of Romania, which is interesting, isn't it? So let me give you details on that. The merchant vessel Progress 4 caught fire and sunk after being struck in Romanian exclusive economic zone in the Black Sea, reports Informat portal. The vessel was struck and appears to have sunk. We don't yet know who struck it or why. Investigation will be conducted. The publication quotes President Nikushordan as saying, incident occurred 20 miles from the coastal village of Sfanto, Georgia, and I don't know anything Romanian. I'm definitely not familiar with the Romanian language. It's not Slavic language, by the way. So, but stuff Sfanto, Georgia. I guess this is a Saint George in English. Am I correct, dear friends? They have to be Romanian in our community, right? I'm sure there are Romanians in our community. Am I understanding correctly? Name of this village, Sfanto, Georgia, Saint George, right? Majority of Romanians are Orthodox Christians, by the way. So yeah, I mean, vessel was struck and sunk, according to reports, not far away from Romanian coast. Question is, who was operating with that drone, and was that drone even operational or under the control at the point of strike? I personally think this was probably British drone, British slash Ukrainian, or British NATO slash Ukrainian drone, maybe stray drone, right? And it so happened that that unlucky vessel just become a casualty of that drone. Might be case, isn't it? Might be case. Although theoretically speaking, of course, it is a possibility. It is a possibility that Russian militaries detected the movement of this vessel. They had the information. Russian military intelligence had the information that it was carrying some stuff for the Kiev regime, right, to enhance its military capability. And there maybe decision was made that, well, that vessel will not reach a port, and they will go down to the bottom of the sea. And yeah, so it could be that we took it out, right? Maybe, but because it's in a Romanian economical zone, exclusive economical zone, very close to Romanian coastline, I think it was a stray drone, British stray drone or NATO stray drone, right? Maybe we will have some more information on that later on. There was 12 crew members on the board. All of them were safe, by the way, so no one was killed as a result of this situation. One sailor received some injuries. So that's been said there. Let's continue with some other news. And well, one of the directions of past night, this large-scale attack on Russian Federation was Moscow region, and Vorobyov, governor of the region, shared with the public information about these attacks. A drone struck a magnet store in Pavlovsky Posad, and a blast wave shattered the windows in a nearby medical institution, in a local clinic, by the way. Moscow region governor Andrei Vorobyov reported, and well, why they targeted the store and magnet stores? These are not hypermarkets, by the way. These are your like everyday store, right? Next door grocery store that you have all over the world, right? It's I mean, why they targeted their magnet? I mean, can you explain? But maybe should we even be surprised? Really? Yes, it is unexplainable why they are targeting these civilian assets that have no military meaning whatsoever. But after all, who trained Kiev regime and the drone operators of the Kiev regime? British secret services, right? And it's a British ruling class and secret services that are leading this terror campaign against Russian people that they launched, right, while hiding behind the Kiev regime. So therefore, I mean, should we really be surprised that this Kiev regime and its assets are targeting like your everyday stores, by the way, grocery stores and their medical institutions? No, we should not be surprised. Really, it's just part of terror campaign. Every and these situations when terrorist attacks will be conducted against Russian people and the Russian Federation that will target purely civilians. Unfortunately, these kind of situations will only increase because this is a part of a terror campaign. From outside, it might look absolutely irrational, waste of weaponry, ineffective, useless from military standpoint. But London has different calculations. They are engaged in a terror campaign against Russian people. And if you take a look at the situation from that prism, then you will see that, yeah, I mean, that's what they do. They are targeting now every day your like grocery stores, right? Why? Because information will spread there, and that's exactly what they want, and because they want to scare people. They want to put fear in the people's minds, but British ruling class, they are idiots, man. They don't know Russian people. They don't know mentality of Russian people. No one gonna scare. That's the point, you know. Anyways, unfortunately, yes, that's what they do, man. They targeted their store, grocery store, and their medical facility in the Moscow region. Also, there are reports that oil refinery was struck in Yaroslav. You can see on your screen aftermath of that strike. Clearly, from several points, there is a thick smoke that is dark smoke that is rising. So therefore, oil refinery definitely received some level of damage. And it is hard to tell how long it will take for Russian engineers to restore these damaged sections of the refinery. 1 week, 2 weeks, or maybe just several days. But yeah, it is unfortunate that oil refinery was struck. Also, past night, according to reports, Kiev regime's forces targeted the Saratov region and Engels city. When it comes to Engels, by the way, this is a very important area, especially from military standpoint, because there is a military airfield in Engels, which houses or which is used as a jump airfield by Russian strategic aviation. Right, Tu-90, 95s, Tu-22s can use it, Tu-95s, Tu-160s probably are using it too as a jump airfield. They are not stationed there on permanent basis, but they can use it as a jump airfield, right? And unfortunately, reports are that despite the interception of vast majority of drones, some allegedly did manage to reach the airfield. And on the Kirill Fyodorov Vojna Historia Oruzhia, I saw this reporter, and I will read it to you, if I may. Tonight, there was a drone threat in the Saratov region. This morning, Zelensky stated that SBU, this terrorist organization, so-called Ukrainian Security Service, had struck another Tu-95 bomber in Engels. Satellite images have now been released showing that their impact hit the bomber's wing. And you can see on your screen right now, dear friends, these images. I can make it a little bigger. So you can like that. So you can see these images. Wing is clearly damaged. Right wing of their strategical bomber is clearly damaged, and the bomber was on the runway. Bomber was on the runway, and therefore, I'm afraid this was an operational bomber. Who knows? It could be case that bomber was not really operational, but in that case, why it was on a runway? I don't know, right? That's the imagery that is being shared, and if true, if this is not AI generated, and if this is actually true, I mean, this is a close-up looker on the plane. Yeah, wing is damaged. So if this is real stuff, then yeah, it is unfortunate because Tu-95s are no longer produced. I think this damage can be repaired, restored. If plane was operational, damage is minor, really. Damage is just a minor one. It can be restored for sure, right? But any loss of strategical bombers is a big deal for Russia because we are no longer producing these planes, right? Neither Tu-95s or neither Tu-160s. Yes, there are reports that work is in progress to build to launch mass production of Tu-160s again, white swans, right? These massive Russian supersonic strategical bombers. And if I remember correctly, one plane was even actually built, or maybe it was just deep more modernization, right? So, anyways, losing even single strategical bomber is a big deal. Clearly, this is a strike on the Russian nuclear triad, 100%, by the way, and it is also obvious that Kiev regime never had no opportunity to monitor Russian strategical aviation, track the movement of Russian strategical aviation, and then launch attacks on these planes when they are on the ground. Right? So therefore, of course, this information was provided. I mean, this operation to strike Angeles was a 100% U.S. British operation. Kiev regime literally has nothing to do with it. They will take blame, and they will run with this story that they destroy Tu-95, but and they will brag about it. But in reality, we know this is yet another attack on the Russian nuclear triad by US and UK. We know this, isn't it? That's what happened. And you might ask, dear friends, well, I mean, this is not the first time Russian nuclear triad component, major main component of Russian nuclear triad was targeted by these NATO member states, US, UK, and so on. And will Moscow do anything about it? And you know the answer, isn't it? You know the answer. Uh, Moscow wouldn't even acknowledge that this happened. Officially, Moscow wouldn't even acknowledge that this actually happened. They would not even comment on the matter. And of course, they will do nothing in retaliation, either against US assets or against British assets. That's the unfortunate reality of modern days, right? Anyways, dear friends, sir. Anyways, before I continue, let me highlight, if I may, that this media project, this independent media project of mine is alive only because of your assistance, your support, and if you like my work, please consider to support her, help her to stay in this field of news and political commentary. I'm same time making screenshot, dear friends, of a super chat on Rumble. So yes, if you can, dear friends, please consider to help her to stay in this field of news and political commentary and to assist her. You can do it through several means. You can donate through PayPal platform. You can donate through Boosty platform, and Boosty is great way to support their friends because if you're donating through Boosty, I literally don't have to do nothing, right? For creators, this is very, probably like preferred even way to receive support because I don't have to do nothing. Platform itself will make a conversion, right, from whichever currency donation was into rubles and will transfer donation in rubles on my account, right? So it's very convenient for creators, especially here in Russia. By the way, nowadays when West has introduced a million, 6 million sanctions on Russia, and there is significant issues with their transactions, right, between West and Russia, or rest of the world and Russia too. Although West is more difficult than other parts, of course. And so yes, you can donate through PayPal, through Boosty. All the links are under this video in description box. You can of course subscribe to my Patreon page, dear friends. Well, in the past 2 weeks we lost two members. In past 2 3 weeks we lost two members in the community, which is unfortunate, of course. And in order this project to be in a safe place, by the way, our community needs to double, but it's just not happening, man. Unfortunately. So yes, if you can afford monthly support or regular support for several months, for example, you can subscribe to my Patreon page and choose your level of monthly support. It starts from $5, and then you can just make your own choice. And please don't become a free subscriber. It does not help the project, right? But if you can become a Patreon, then yeah, that will help a great deal. You can subscribe to my subscribe to my Boosty channel. It's the same, by the way. Boosty is like Patreon, but Boosty also gives you opportunity to donate to the creator. Patreon does not really has that feature. On the Patreon, you can purchase each single video if you want to, and on the Patreon you can purchase a subscription, right? You can make a gift card of a subscription, and I think every time you make a purchase of a gift card of subscription, you are donating to the project, right? So Patreon has certain features that you can use as a tool to donate. But Boosty has it right there openly, right? It says it, right? Tip or the donator. So it's easy to operate. And Boosty works, actually. Some members of our community find it difficult to operate with the Boosty, but it works, right? John Dutchman is commenting about it and sharing information. And yes, Boosty works. And you don't have to make a separate account or something. You can use your existing Google account, right? Or whatever account you have in your part of the world, right? Once you go in a Boosty, it will give you choice of platforms that are most popular in your part of the world. And if you have any account on any of the platforms, you can use that account to log in, right? And then donate. So you don't have to create some separate account. Anyways, all the links, dear friends, are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And of course, you can use super chat feature on Rumble to highlight any topic or at the same time donate, and also premium subscription gift card, by the way. And quite a few members of our community are using premium subscription gift card feature on Rumble to donate to this project. Of course, many thanks to everybody who have supported and continues to support her. And let's continue with the news. Now. I see I made a screenshot of free super chats, right? Yes, free super chats. There was recommendations from Christopher, so I will highlight those recommendations. Also, I will react on super chats after their new segment from Boosty. Let me check Boosty, by the way. Oh, you see, there is a donation from Alexander G on a boosty right now. You see? So let me make a screenshot. It works, man. I mean, it actually works. I don't know why some members of our community find they're difficult to navigate on the boosty platform. It's quite intuitive, really, as far as I can tell. So let me make a screenshot, dear friends, sir. So I will highlight this after the news segment also. Thank you very much, Alexander G. I see you're in the chat. So thank you. And let's continue with our other news, dear friends. There are more stuff to talk about. Sorry if I'm a little bit more chaotic today than usually. It's a Friday, isn't it? And it was a hard week, man. It was a hard weeker. You know, when you are working in this field, news and political commentary, and you are pushing through your head there like hundreds of news about different topics, right, on daily basis. And unfortunately, when majority of news are about some negative stuff, I mean, it makes you like get tired mentally, not physically, obviously, but mentally. This is very, you know, I love this field, by the way. I mean, I grew up in the journalism, so for me, it's easier. I can imagine that if I am getting tired, then people that are new to this field, how much they are tired, man, if they are working full time in this field. But yeah, it is demanding stuff, but nevertheless, it is a blessing, dear friends, that I have your supporter. I'm a part of this great community. It's a blessing, man, dream come true. So therefore, I mean, truly, thank you very much to all of you, dear friends, for your time, for your support, for your attention, and for keeping me in this field for a fourth year now, right? So I'm truly grateful, dear friends. Thank you all. And let's continue, right? Let's continue with some other news. And well, this fear mongering, by the way, in the West, no matter how many indicators are out there that Russia not gonna conduct no retaliatory strikes on NATO member states that are engaged in this war against Russian people, Western ruling class, Western propaganda continues to push these narratives that Russians are coming, and this fear mongering is never stopping, right? And lately, it was even further activated, especially in the UK, right? And I did notice it because I'm monitoring all sorts of media outlets, propaganda outlets. It's a part of a job, right? It comes with the territory, you like it or not, but you have to read BBC. You have to see or watch or listen to, I don't know, France 24 or Fox News or that kind of stuff, man. It's not pleasant, but you just have to, right? Do it. And you have to also monitor alternative media. This is a part of a job. And I noticed, by the way, that there was a intense or more active talk about Russia and this non-existent Russian threat in the British media, right? And RT also, I guess, noticed this, and they went after BBC, which was pushing. BBC is a British state-financed propaganda outlet that used to be relevant one. It used to be even respected, by the way, some 40, 50 years ago. But now BBC is such a crap, man. You know how critical I am of Russian MSM, right? Very critical. I mean, Russian MSM cannot withstand any criticism, and they are just too bad. I believe Russian staff, I mean, I would not call them journalists even that are working for Russian MSM. They are propagandists, so that's what I'm going to call them. I'm quite sure Russian propagandists are much more educated or better educated than Western propagandists, either from BBC or I don't know, man, Channel 4 or ITV or whatever, you name it, right? But they still are propagandists, by the way. So that's why Russian MSM is sucks. But Western MSM is like 10 times worse. When you think this is a bottom, right? That there is nothing below that, then you have to take a look at the Western MSM and you will realize that, oh, goodness me, man, compared to these ones, Russian MSM is like on top of the game, right? So BBC is definitely one of the representatives of this extremely despicable field of Western MSM, and they run the story. They run the story while using some statements of a Soviet era official in Russia that Moscow plans to conduct strikes on UK and get ready and this and that are pure nonsense, right? Let me give you details. British state broadcaster, the BBC, this week ran their major story drumming up their alleged Russian threats and their supposed looming retaliatory attacks on UK drone factories supporting Ukraine. This chilling warning came from their top Russian official, except, according to BBC, except that the individual in question has not been one in over 3 decades. It's a Soviet era official, by the way, right? That BBC used. For what? Why, man? Why are they doing this stuff? At first glance, their piece titled UK drone factories may face attacks from unknown sources, says a Kremlin advisor, looked legit based on the comments made on BBC Newsnight by Andrei Fyodorov. Their broadcaster presented their interviewee as a heavyweight Russian official, describing him as a Kremlin advisor and Russia's former deputy foreign minister. And I can give you some quotes from that BBC propaganda material. Andrei Fyodorov, an advisor to the Kremlin, that's how BBC presented, says there might be a semi-military response against UK drone factories by unknown sources over their sharing of blueprints for British-made cruise missile components. And also, Fyodorov is presented as Russia's former deputy foreign minister, who said during this conversation with BBC that Putin was facing serious pressure to undertake certain measures against UK. And well, when it comes to pressure part, clearly there is increased pressure on the Kremlin, right? On the ruling class here in Russia, by the way, not just on Putin, but on the ruling class, to do something about this direct involvement of NATO countries in this war that they are waging against Russian people. Kremlin is ignoring this pressure as of now quite successfully, unfortunately, right? Instead of addressing the issue, Kremlin is ignoring this issue, right? But pressure is there. Yeah, okay. On this point, Fyodorov is 100% correct. When it comes to, when he says that there might be semi-military response against UK drone factories, might be is something, yeah, it might be that tomorrow aliens will visit this planet, or maybe even several alien species. Anything might be, right? So it's what is this, man? Really. But anyways, BBC ran with this story, right? While introducing this person as a high-ranking, very influential figure here in Russia, in the Kremlin, right? In the Kremlin, in particular. The later is partially true. That Fyodorov used to be a member of foreign ministry. Fyodorov was the deputy minister in RSFSR. RSFSR is a Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic. During the Soviet Union, by the way, there was 15 republics, right? There was a Georgian Soviet Socialist Republic, for example. I was born in Georgian Soviet Socialist Republic. It was a part of the Soviet Union, right? And there was a Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic that was created by Bolsheviks, never existed before, right? There was many others, and there was a Russian Federation too, Republic, right? That was abused by all the rest. Let's be real, man. All the rest, all the rest, 14 republics were living on behalf of Russia. Russia was financing everything, everywhere, right? Anyways, that's a whole different story. And so this person was actually uh, was a deputy minister during their USSR, man, during the Soviet era. Uh, RSFSR is a Russian republic in the USSR. RT is also explaining. He was serving between October 1990 and 1991, prior to formal end of Soviet Union. The other claim, however, is completely false. Fyodorov used to be an advisor to Russia's vice president until late 1993. Same year, the vice president position was abolished. And this person has not yielded any public office since then. Over the past decade, he has been best known as a political commentator and a media personality uh, as, associated, let's say, with Russian political talk shows. Okay, I personally right now can't even tell you who that Fyodorov is, man. Probably I'm familiar with him, but maybe I have seen some reports with him or something like that. I can't tell you now for sure. So definitely, this guy is, maybe he's a frequent guest on the talk shows and stuff, but he does not represent Kremlin, right? And BBC around the story is if this guy is like Putin's best friend or something, or his advisor, which is not true. But yet again, for fear mongering purposes, this will go, man. This will go, right? This will work. And there are more Brits gonna scare that, hey, you see, I mean, Putin's advisor is saying that we're gonna bomb your factories. So, I mean, it's true then, must be true. I mean, Russians are coming. Unbelievable, man, unbelievable. What is also interesting, how savage the RT is, right, about this matter. RT is a state finance media too, right, here in Russia. RT is a kind of opposite of BBC. And in some sense. And why RT is that savage, man? Are they told to go after BBC? Or what is going on? Okay, BBC ran the story that, well, Russians are coming. They are running these kind of stories every day, every other day. I mean, no big deal. Why are you going after them? Maybe because, and because they do, maybe that's their indicator, additional indicator, if we even needed one, that as long as Putin is a Russian president, no matter what Western world class is going to do, Moscow will never retaliate on them and their interests. Am I correct? And when it comes to actual threats to UK, by the way, and British citizens, well, the actual threat is coming, you might be surprised, or maybe even not, but from Ukraine. There are many threats that UK is facing, right? British citizens. But Ukraine is also delivering some additional threats. Ukraine is poisoning Brits, to be more precise. Ukraine is literally poisoning British citizens with their poisoned freaking eggs. So Telegraph, big name in the British propaganda, so-called media, reports that there is a salmonella outbreak in UK. I didn't knew it, by the way. I just learned early this morning about it, right? that there is an outbreak of salmonella. And even though most of eggs that British people are consume are originated from UK itself, about 11% is imported from other countries. And you guess which country is the number one when it comes to British egg imports? Ukraine. And I assume claim that Ukraine is poisoning breeds, by the way, is factually accurate, because that's what they do, man. I would not believe ever that well, Ukrainian authorities in Ukraine did not knew that they are selling or exporting into UK dodgy eggs, man, in millions, right? I guess they knew, but Ukrainian society in many ways, and Ukrainian bureaucracy, state institutions are corrupt so much so, by the way, that they would not give a damn. Probably they conducted some tests and they see, yeah, I mean, freaking salmonella, man, it's a risky. But at some point they say, you know what, we're gonna make money on this, man. Who gives a damn? Brits will eat this. They're gonna be okay, and they sell it, right? They sell it anyways. And this information definitely raises the question about quality control or safety control, food safety control in UK itself. How they allow potentially millions of freaking eggs with the risk of salmonella to enter the country. What is going on in UK, by the way? Yeah? I'll tell you what is going on. It's collapsing. UK is collapsing, by the way, right? And it is so unbelievable that despite all these NATO countries being, including UK, by the way, being this extremely, extremely vulnerable and weak, Russian ruling class will not do nothing to help people of these NATO countries to get free, actually, to get liberated from these terrorist regimes that they have, right? And while doing nothing, indirectly at least, Russian leadership is helping Western ruling class, right, to stay in power. And when I say UK is crumbling, by the way, this is factually accurate statement because, I mean, we know a lot about what's going on there. But situation is, I guess, even worse than one can imagine, because I want to share with you this information too, about UK exactly. Birmingham, by the way, council, and Birmingham is like second biggest city, or second most populated city, isn't it, after London? You know, you might think it's gonna be Manchester or something, but no, I believe Birmingham is second most populated city in UK, right? Our friends from UK, members of our community, can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But anyways, Birmingham Council moves to ban British and the St. George flags to protect public safety. I mean, that's what the hell? What is going on, man? UK is not even a country, man. It's a joke, right? Honestly, man. It's a freaking joke. And we are allowing ruling class of this joke to terrorize Russian people and to kill Russian people with total impunity. What are we doing, man? What the hell is going on in the brains of Russian leadership, right? In the brains of Putin and all the rest, that they are allowing a ruling class of this joke entity that UK is, actually, to mass kill Russian citizens with total impunity. What the hell is going on? We can destroy this ruling class in the UK. We can destroy ruling class throughout the Europe and help locals to regain control over their countries. By the way, they will say thank Russia, right? What we are doing nothing. We are just doing nothing, man. Look what is going on in UK. Flag, man, state flag of UK is banned, and their English flag is banned in England. What's going on, man? I mean, I feel sorry for Brits, man. Right? Yeah, majority of Brits might hate us and stuff, but they've been brainwashed, right? I honestly feel sorry for them, and because what the hell? I mean, what is this? They've been under the pressure and they've been insulted by their own elites, their own government or ruling class on daily freaking basis, right? So what you expect from a society that is under such a pressure, you know? But I don't know. I wonder how long they're gonna tolerate this nonsense, man. That state flag is banned now to protect public safety. What are you talking about, man? Right? Who is against state flag? How one can be against state flag? I mean, I mean, this is just too bad, man. These people are living in a freaking different parallel universe, right, or something. Unbelievable. Uh, meanwhile, I already mentioned, isn't it, that Russian MSM is bad, man. Maybe not as bad as Western MSM, but still bad. And I give you an example of that. Lavrov had an interview with the RBK news agency. It's a TV channel, basically. And RBK is a bigger media project here in Russia, or propaganda project, by the way, I should say. And look at the headline, man, that RIA Novosti chose for this for this news. Russia did not issue an ultimatum to the US over the Ukrainian attacks, Lavrov said. You see what's going on? That's the pure example of propaganda for you, by the way. They are creating false narrative with this headline, isn't it? That, yeah, Lavrov denied that we are, we give them ultimatum, but well, of course he will deny, right? But in reality, I guess, yeah, we are talking to the West with the ultimatums. We are tough guys, right? Yeah, we are big bosses here. That's this cheap narrative, cheap false narrative that they want to create. But neither in RIA Novosti, by the way, neither in RBK, whoever editors are or they understand that Russia is not US. And this cheap talk that is very popular in the US and normalized totally, this cheap talk does not work here in Russia. Because Russian people don't want to hear no freaking bragging about or some stuff from their officials. They want to see some actions, right? But you see influence, Western influence, by the way, right? Russian so-called media is attempting to copy US propaganda outlets, European propaganda outlets, and you can see these elements of their Western influence in headlines, for example, like this, which is clearly intended to create a false narrative, while this very same false narrative formally being denied in the same headline. That's how propaganda works, man. And you can see this if you are from the journalistic field, or if you are paying close attention to. But if some people will not pay no attention, right, to details, and some people will be eventually brainwashed and will believe all sorts of nonsense. This is also, one might argue, is damage control from Kremlin side and their Kremlin propaganda. Right? Because they know their restraint policy is extremely unpopular, right? And maybe with this nonsensical stuff, they are trying to kind of do some minor works on their shattered image or something. I don't know, but it would not work, man. It is sad that Lavrov is being used for this purpose, man. Right? Let this guy go on a pension, man, and have a rest, right? And according to reports, Lavrov asked Putin for several times to resign, and he was denied. I'm quite sure Lavrov don't want to be part of Putin's team, man. I'm 100% confident that Lavrov and maybe quite a few other top officials here in Russia don't want to be part of Putin's team no longer, especially because of his restraint policy in regards to Western ruling class. But they can't resign. Putin will not let him go. Anyways, I can give you details. Moscow did not issue an ultimatum to Washington regarding its participation in Ukrainian strikes on Russian territory, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov stated, RIA Novosti reports. No, there was no ultimatum on our part, he said in an interview with their RBK TV channel. And giving this quote, no, there was no ultimatum on our part, I can assume that RBK journalists or so-called journalists ask about it, right? Are we transfer their ultimatum or demands, some strong demands from the American side and stuff? And Lavrov said, no, there was no ultimatum on our part. And now you tell me, by the way, giving all the information that is available on open sources, if you actually are a journalist, good, bad does not matter in this case. I mean, if you are even a bad journalist, right, or beginner, there is enough information out there in open sources to realize that if anyone is talking with the language of ultimatums between West and Russia, it's a Western ruling class, correct? So how on earth are you going to come up with the question, are we talking to them with the language of ultimatums? Are we sending them ultimatums? What gives you the grounds to come up with this nonsensical question? There is no grounds for this type of questions, right? Objectively. But you will ask this question to get the answer, right? That's the trickery with their so-called journalism, man, right? That's what propagandists do. They are creating false narratives, including through questions. You ask a foreign minister, are we talking to the West with the ultimatums, or are we send them an ultimatum? And he will, I mean, it's an interview, right? So he will most likely will respond on it. He will say something like, no, there was no ultimatum on our part. And then you will use this phrase, right, to run entire freaking story and create entire freaking false narrative. That yes, Lavrov said we are not talking to them with the ultimatums, but yeah, he's a diplomat. He's not gonna say like what it is straight, directly, isn't it? So that means, yeah, we are so tough that we are talking to the West with the ultimatums. That's what they want to spread. And some people will buy into this nonsense, man. Some people will buy into this nonsense. And it's sad that Lavrov was used for this trickery, man. It's sad. Give the guy rest, man. He deserves this, right? He's a well-respected worldwide heavyweight politician. Just give this guy a rest, man. Well-deserved one. But no, Putin will not let him go, man. anyways, dear friends, a couple of more news. Lukashenko is in Russia. He came in Russia yesterday. President of Belarus. He and Putin had a meeting on a boat. I've seen video, by the way. They were on a boat somewhere. They were on a boat on some lake around Moscow, I guess. Maybe did they went to St. Petersburg? Is it Ladega? I don't even know, really. And neither I care, right? I'm just telling you that Lukashenko is here in Russia, and Putin and Lukashenko will have several days of talks. Maybe Putin will share with Lukashenko whatever he was told by FBI director Radcliffe 2 days ago, and would not be surprised at all, dear friends, if one of the topics of discussion when Radcliffe, CIA director, had spoke to Putin and other high-ranking officials was U.S. citizens that are imprisoned here in Russia and possibly in Belarus, and if so, maybe Putin promised her that we will free some of your citizens, or maybe in about several weeks time or something like that, number of US citizens that are in the prison here in Russia will be released, and maybe Putin will also tell Lukashenko to release either US citizens if they have any imprisoned, or so-called opposition figures that might be in a jail, Western assets actually, that might be in jail in Belarus. So they will probably talk about that, releasing some Western assets, right? And maybe they will also talk about possible Minsk free. Dear friends, I think before end of this year, Minsk free will be formalized. I'm calling it a Minsk free. You may come up with something else or some other name, but I think before end of this year, this conflict will be frozen. I think that was the main reason why Radcliffe was here in Russia, although he could also same time talk about some other topics like release of prisoners, like Middle Eastern topic, stuff like that, right? But freezing of the conflict was definitely main subject of a discussion, quite sure. And well, if I'm correct, man, in next several weeks' time, most likely before parliamentary elections, we will see liberation of Slavyansk, potentially even Slavyansk and Kramatorsk, and God knows what else, right? Western ruling class is not that dumb not to understand that Putin's positions and his inner circle's positions are weakened here in Russia. They know perfectly well that willingly or unwillingly, but Putin's presidency is extremely useful for the Western geopolitical agenda, or used to be useful as of now at least, and to strengthen the positions of this such a useful regime for them. They will of course you know come up with some steps, and that those steps might include a rapid advance of the Russian forces in the DPR, which will include in next several weeks, by the way, right? Because eventually, of course, eventually in I don't know, in 5 years from now or something, Russian troops will be on the borders with Western Ukraine, so a lot more territory going to be liberated. But right now, Western ruling class will give Putin a massive victory to strengthen his stance, and this victory is going to be in the DPR most likely. Slavyansk is going to be liberated. I spoke about it in my previous updates, difference. No need to repeat myself, isn't it? So maybe Putin shared some details of upcoming events that we all will observe, right? Rapid advance of Russian forces in DPR plus freezing of the conflict. That is going to happen before end of this year. We will see. Also, difference, there is an update about this tragedy that happened in Nepal, Tibet, in Nepal and Nepal-Tibet border in China. There was a massive landslide, massive flooding as a result of this landslide, and colossal damage. And unfortunately, there is enormous casualty numbers now as a result of this tragedy. 469 people were killed at least, and this is still preliminary information, by the way, and more than 1,300 are missing, out of which 700 are foreign nationals. I believe a number of Russian nationals that are missing have reached 8 at this moment. But yet again, this is all preliminary information. Well, it was a massive. It is a massive tragedy, isn't it? That happened there due to that landslide. You probably have seen videos, right? I personally never have seen anything like that before in my life, right? Just absolute devastation that was caused by this landslide and subsequent flooding. Also, Few more news differences. Armenian Prime Minister Pashinyan states that Armenia no longer considers Russia to be a strategical partner. What a surprise, isn't it? What a surprise. Um, Only question I have, by the way, in regards to Armenia, why Russian leadership is still freaking reactive instead of being proactive. It's so easy to read the picture, right? It's so easy to read the next steps of either Pashinyan's regime, or next steps of Western masters of this Pashinyan regime, right? So we can go and be more proactive and don't give them a opportunity, right, to take those steps and then do some PR campaign on that. For example, one of the next steps of Armenia is going to be demand to Russian forces to be withdrawn. We all know that, isn't it? So why Moscow is waiting? Why don't we withdraw Russian base from Armenia? And by doing so, and cancel their one of their steps, right? That one of the PR campaigns that West and the Pashinyan's regime will go for, while bragging about, you see, we force Russian militaries out. Why don't we withdraw our base, man? What is the point keeping base in Armenia? There is no point in that, right? But yet again, Moscow is usually proactive, reactive, almost never proactive, right? And I don't think anything going to change in this regard anytime soon, man, under the current leadership at least, right? In 2030, maybe society here in Russia will manage to get united around figure, other political figure that will operate differently, right, compared to Putin, and will be more useful for a country. Let's hope so, right? But yeah, Armenia officially no longer considers Russia to be a strategical partner. No surprises there, right? But just sharing the information. That only confirms what I have said about Pashinyan's regime and the trajectory of Armenia in previous my updates. Also, U.S. President, of course, Donald Trump, continues to bring smile to the faces of their people worldwide, right? Continues to act like a freaking clown. Maybe he don't understand, sir, how he looks, but yeah, I mean, he does what he does, man. And lately he's after Canada again. And he decided that Lake of Ontario needs to be renamed. And well, DD Geopolitics had a good little post about this. Some reports say Trump actually signed a decree renaming Ontario a lake, and DD Geopolitics, Telegram channel, suggested that probably neither Trump, neither anybody in his inner circle has any knowledge that the name Ontario is coming from indigenous people, right? And has nothing to do with either English or the French, right? Main languages in Canada. It's not migrants that give this name to their lake. And this name was given to the lake not because of the city of Ontario, but it's actually other way around. Lake, has the name of Ontario because of the indigenous people, and their city has the name of the lake, Ontario, right, in Canada. One of the main cities there, by the way. But looks like, yes, U.S. ruling class, U.S. president, he's in a circle. They have no freaking idea about it. And just because there is a city, Ontario, in Canada, they are now renaming the lake Ontario. Insanity, man. I mean, pure freaking insanity. This is embarrassing on so many levels, right? Should be embarrassing, man, for American citizens on so many levels, that they have these morons as leaders, man. If I was a US citizen, I probably would go full crazy mode, man, right? It would be so embarrassing, right? I would not be able to tolerate this nonsense, man. I will start picking rebellion or something, right? I would go after everybody who will be in the service of a Trump. I will declare them all freaking traitors, and will gather their group of people, and we will just go after everybody, man. Right? It's just too freaking embarrassing. Or I will just move somewhere else, man. I will just say, you know what, if you all motherfuckers, and I will just move somewhere else, man, from this psychiatric clinic that US has become, man. Unfortunately, tragically, man. First and foremost for locals, right? For ordinary people that just happen to live there, right? They were never being asked. I mean, do you want to uh, arrive in this world in the US necessarily? I mean, if people were asked, probably majority now will say no, man. Thanks, no, right? Give me, I don't know, man, New Zealand or something. Maybe saying Canada. But yeah, it's crazy. It's just freaking crazy, man. What's going on there? And Trump also went to say that maybe he will rename oceans too, right? On the west coast they have Pacific, right? On the east coast they have Atlantics. So Trump considers to rename the oceans also. Goodness me. Uh, it's too bad, really, isn't it? We can laugh about it. We can be sarcastic about it and stuff. And we are, but it's truly sad, isn't it? At the same time, and really sad, man. That level of degeneration of political class in US has reached, and the Western world in general has reached such a devastating levels. And when it comes to the generation of political class in the West, what about the statements that Ursula von der Leyen, head of European Commission, made? Suddenly she wake up. Suddenly she wake up just now, uh, after everyone else, and said that factors that previously ensured the competitiveness of the European Union's economy no longer exists. For the long time, European economic model was based on several obvious truths: cheap imported energy, you guess from where, open global trade, increasing access to Chinese market, strategic protection from the United States, and the Western technological superiority. These factors have disappeared, uh, said the von der Leyen. President of the European Commission also drew attention to the trade imbalance in Sino-European relations and their critical dependence on foreign raw materials and rare earth materials. And I mean, I wonder how this is possible. By the way, that number one politician in Europe, in EU, is this dumb that only now when European economies are in serious trouble, only now is facing this objective reality that everybody knows for freaking years and years. How this is even possible, man? I don't know. But we should also keep in mind, dear friends, that this desperation that European ruling class globalists are feeling now, this desperation is forcing them in many ways, right, to be extremely reckless, and go all the way in this war that they are waging against Russian people and Russia, because as von der Leyen rightfully noticed, Europe is extremely dependent on raw materials and cheap energy. If they want to be competitive again, they need raw materials and cheap energy, because this was the foundation of their success story, along some other things, but first and foremost, raw materials and energy. And you know which country was providing Europe with that? It was the Soviet Union and then Russia. Correct? And that's why they are this crazy, this insane, because out of desperation, they have calculated, I guess, in their freaking effed up brains that uh, they're gonna go all the way, man. They're just gonna go all the way in this war against Russia and Russian people, and they're not gonna stop dreaming about destroying Russia, dividing Russia in dozens of parts, right? And they're grabbing all the riches that Russia has, because this is the only way in their mind that they can survive, or Western ruling class might maintain a position on a geopolitical scale. They are dangerous, man. These desperate psychopaths are extremely, extremely dangerous, man. And after all, for a reason, I'm saying that Western ruling class globalists and their allies and their proxies are evil force, satanic force, because they are. Because they actually are, man. Bloomberg is also reporting, according to TASS news agency, that the European Commission will propose abolishing its veto power over the admission of candidate countries to the EU. And you know what's going on there, isn't it? They want to abolish these veto powers to bring in Ukraine, because one of the ways how they can continue maintain this or prolong this war, right, and bring in a bigger and bigger way European countries, is to first bring Ukraine into EU, right? Even though there is a war there and destruction and all that stuff, right? They don't care. So maybe they will actually go for it, and they're gonna go for Moldova too, by the way, because they are preparing Moldova for sacrifice, right? They are preparing number of NATO countries: Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, most likely, right? Moldova, 100%. These entities are prepared by Western elites, by globalists, to be sacrificed, and not just that, but in the Southern Caucasus, globalists clearly are considering to sacrifice Azerbaijan, Georgia, both, right? Armenia is not bordering with Russia. Otherwise, they will sacrifice Armenia too. But they're going to sacrifice Armenia in some other ways also. And so I think this is very serious developments, by the way, that are happening in Europe. I don't know if public is paying it any attention, but these decisions that European bureaucrats, under the dictate of a globalist, going to make will have far-reaching consequences and extremely negative consequences for Europe. Few more news, dear friends. Central, or one more news actually, and then I will check a couple of media outlets for possible breaking news, and let's have a community chat, right? So, Central Bank of the Russian Federation shared information about reserves, financial reserves of Russia, and their numbers are quite impressive. Of course, veterans of our community not going to be surprised, because they know that Russian safety cushion, let's say financial safety cushion, is above $1 trillion. I have said that many times before, right? I have. So that's of course important stuff. But central bank shared with the public information about reserves when it comes to foreign reserves and foreign currencies and the gold and the rest. And let me give you details on that. So over the single week, by the way, right? International assets of Russia grow by 0.7%, thanks to positive revaluation, reaching an impressive $761.2 billion. $761.2 billion. That's a one fund alone, right? Russia has several funds, right? There is a national wealth fund, there is some other funds and another ones, right? And this one has 700, this is a gold and currency reserves, right? This one is a 761 billion. dollars. Overall, by the way, safety cushion, as I have said there many times before, must be like way above $1 trillion. And I hope these reserves are not in the freaking West, right? I really hope so, man, that these assets are not in the Western countries and not in the countries that West can easily manipulate with, because they might froze it too. And hopefully all of it, or most of it at least, is in Russia. I know when it comes to gold reserves, and Russia has one of the biggest gold reserves in the world, I know gold reserves are mostly in Russia, right? And hopefully all the other reserves are here too. Hopefully. Just in a single week, by the way, Russian reserves Russian foreign currency and the gold reserves grow $5.6 billion just in a single week. This information might become as a devastating surprise for all sorts of Russia haters out there, right? That dreaming about Russian economy collapsing and Russian financial system is collapsing and stuff. It's not gonna happen, man, right? It's not gonna happen. I'm very critical of certain policies of Putin and his a political part of his government, right? But when it comes to economical bloc, well, by the way, we have to say, right, that very same Putin and his economical bloc did quite a good job, by the way, to secure Russian economy and financial system. I mean, true is true, right? When you disagree with something, you are critical and you are sharing your alternative ways, right? What should be done? If your criticism is coming from good place, and when something is good is done, right? When policies are right, and clearly there is evidences of that, you acknowledge it, right? And that's what I do. That's my take always. And we'll have to say, by the way, very same Putin, of whom I'm very critical in regards to restraint policies, for example, and also on the topic of fight against corruption and corrupt elements. My take is much more stricter than Putin's policies. But anyways, I'm critical in that field. But when it comes to economy, I have to give them a credit, man. They are doing pretty good job, man. Right? Russian economy not just withstand the pressure, but it has a freaking $1 trillion reserve, 661 billion in this one fund alone, and in other funds, it must be at least 3 to 500 billion there, right? So overall, it's anyways more than a trillion, which is great, right? Which is a great news. And now, dear friends, let's check a couple of media outlets for possible breaking news. Well, what's going on here? Putin arrived in Nizhny Novgorod. Okay, what's going on in Nizhny Novgorod? So Russian President Vladimir Putin arrived in Nizhny Novgorod. This is a report that happened just now, by the way, since I started the live stream. So Russian President Vladimir Putin arrived in Nizhny Novgorod, where he will participate in the plenary session of their Agency for Strategic Initiatives Forum, Strong Ideas for a New Time, and inspect several new facilities. TASS correspondent reports. Okay, what else is happening? An intercontinental ballistic missile was launched from Plisetsk. Okay, some tester of ICBM, I guess. Training launch, yes. Training launch of an intercontinental ballistic missile was successfully conducted at the Plisetsk Cosmodrome. Launch was intended to confirm the missile system's performance and their flight characteristics, the Russian Defense Ministry reported. Okay, good. What else is happening there? Zakharova announced an information campaign against Russia. We need an announcement of that. Everybody knows, man, that there is a entire freaking tsunami of anti-Russian propaganda created or generated by the West, man. Is it really news that deserves to be on the first page? Maybe Zakharova made some statement, but you don't have to publish everything about everything that Zakharova says. Come on now. Unbelievable. Sweden will send their fighter jets and the ships to Finland to patrol its border with Russia. Yeah, what surprise, man. Yeah, they are preparing, right? Even though right now they are pushing for a freezing of the conflict, they're not going to stop preparing for a war with Russia, open war, right? They will use their proxy Ukraine as long as they can. Then they might go for NATO member states to be sacrificed, right? And at that point, they will launch open war, and they are preparing, man. They are preparing. Let's see what RIA Novosti has to say, dear friends. Also information about ICBM tester. Bulgaria has been named one of the main suppliers of weapons and the diesel fuel to Kiev. What a surprise. What a surprise, man. Putin arrived in Nizhny Novgorod. Moscow has no connection to their weapons cache found in Germany. Russian diplomat says, what weapons cache, man? I don't know this story. The embassy in Berlin, Russian embassy in Berlin, denied accusations of Moscow's involvement in the weapons cache found in Germany. Last week, German Interior Minister Alexander Dobrindt announced that German security agencies had discovered the cache in a forest near the capital in 2025. He added that suspect in the case was in custody in Romania. He was allegedly planning attacks and sabotage operations in NATO countries on behalf of Russian intelligence service. Really, man? Come on, man. I mean, these freaking idiots. I mean, honestly, man, right? These freaking idiots. If Russia wants to do some more freaking sabotage operations, man, do you think Russian foreign intelligence service or Russian GRU don't have people are not gonna be detected ever by anybody, right? Come on, man. But they blame Russia for everything. I mean, if it's gonna rain 1 week non-stop, by the way, they will blame Russia eventually, right? So therefore, it is what it is. They are coming up with also all sorts of nonsensical false flag operations every other day. They are coming up with all sorts of blames every other day. Aren't they tired of this nonsense, man? I don't know. Anyways, dear friends, this is it, I guess, for a news segment. For a news segment. Oh wait, there was a by the way recommendations that I want to show you, and then I will go for community chat. There are several super chats from Wayward and Scooby. Also, there is a premium subscription gift card from Nautilus. I will highlight all of it right now in a minute. All the first, let me make this screenshot. If you like the video, dear friends, if you like the program, news segment, right? Program is not finished yet. News segment is. And if you like the program, please, in that case, click that like button, leave some commentary, might be very helpful, of course. And, well, if I may, I will start now with the recommendations from Christopher. Okay. So that's the recommendations, by the way. I will go like recommendations from Christopher. There is quite a number of recommendations. So because these recommendations are coming through PayPal with their donation, I feel obligated to highlight it. Um, so thank you, Christopher, for your recommendations and the donations through PayPal. And let's go for it, right? Dear friends, there is a video on the YouTube channel Tapur Update when Russia's FPV drones destroy US HIMARS. You can check out the video of destruction of US HIMARS multi-launcher rocket system Also, Christopher is recommending to take a look at their military tube channels, military tube today channels, latest update, latest video. Russia unleashes a massive overnight strike across Ukraine. This channel is a massive one, by the way, itself, 144K subs. Also, Christopher is recommending to take a look at the Glenn Dizon Clips channel. This is a Glenn Dizon's channel, secondary channel with short clips from the main programs. Stanislav Krapivnik, NATO is pushing Russia toward the direct war. That's the headline there. And 2 days ago, dear friend, Stanislav Krapivnik was a guest on Glenn Dizon's show. Glenn Dizon himself is a Norwegian expert, by the way. He did definitely become one of the leading figures, by the way, in this field of a blogosphere, right, or field of news and political commentary. I definitely recommend to check out his channels and this particular conversation with Stanislav Krapivnik. And when it comes to Stanislav Krapivnik, I think he is the biggest name from Russia when it comes to English language field of alternative media in news and political commentary segment, right? Many of you, I mean, all of you probably, I mean, is there anybody who don't knows any of these figures? Also, Christopher is recommending Znaika channel. A Russian FPV drone lands a powerful strike, but this Ukrainian soldier did not give up. Here is why. I mean, this video might be very sensitive because it's drone strikes on military personnel. So I would not recommend it for very sensitive people. Otherwise, you can check out the video, by the way, on the Sniker channel. And also another recommendation from Christopher about update on the military update channel. That's the name of the channel, military update. Everything gone in a second. FPV drone strike command post in Kharkov. This video can be seen on our military update channel. Thank you, Christopher, for these recommendations and the donations with them. Now, let's go for, let's go for several super chats, then recommendations again, and then super chats like that. And so when it comes to recommendations, I will start from here, right? Thank you very much, Wayward, for your super chats and the donations through Rumble. Wayward is commenting, it's all about managing public perception. Is there same as the so-called rift between Canada and the US? Brian Berlitic just did their small video on this topic. Far too many people fail for their theater and difference. Wayward just mentioned the New Atlas channel and the host of New Atlas channel, Brian Berlitic. These are OG, I will say, OG in this field of news and political commentary, and I definitely recommend to take a look of latest update of Berlitic. I missed it. I'm gonna search it, by the way. I mean, every time I missed some update from either Duran or especially Alex Christofor, because Duran I still see updates. Christofor's updates I don't. I have to search it, right? And New Atlas channels updates I have not seen popping up on its own in recommendations for a very, very long time. He's in a strict shadow ban. Brian Berlitic is in as big shadow ban, I guess, as my channel is, right? He has a much bigger audience, so view numbers on his videos are still much higher. But still, man, his channel, I'm quite confident that his channel is in tremendous pressure, under tremendous pressure on from the algorithm. So I recommend you, friends, New Atlas channel, of course, and Brian Berlitic, as I said, is one of the OGs out there in this field for sure. Thank you for sharing, Wayward. And also, Wayward is commenting, as long as their elites in the West do not pay personal price for their acts of war against Russia and its citizens, they won't stop. Once upon uh, once upon a time, the KGB would have been hunting down these people. And yeah, I agree with you 100%. You are correct 100%. There is, I mean, how one can argue with this? Um, Western ruling class, sir, has no reverse gear, has no brakes, sir, and only understands one language, language of force. And unless Moscow will start talking to Western elites with their only language they understand, unfortunately, nothing going to change, at least in Russian favor. This is so obvious. And when it comes to Russian security services, yet again, there is a subordination, wayward. I'm quite sure Russian FSB, Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, Russian military intelligence is very, very capable, extremely capable, right? But they need order. I mean, they cannot just go and do stuff just because they think this is right. It does not work like that, isn't it? They need a green light from the Kremlin. Everything they do has to be authorized by legit power that is being elected by people, so they have legitimacy. President is overseeing these security forces, right? He is commander in chief. So unless Putin will authorize, I mean, Russian security services and their militaries cannot do anything really to restore the deterrent with the collective West. And unfortunately, there is very little, if any, chance that Putin will ever greenlight them to go after Western elites that are directly involved in this war against Russian people and are guilty of death of thousands, tens of thousands of Russian citizens. You know, but Russian security services are very capable of wayward. I mean, I have no doubts about it. But they cannot operate without order. During the Soviet Union, Moscow was very strict. During the Soviet Union, even though it was penetrated by Western secret services, big time, right? Regime itself, system, but nevertheless, there were enough people, independent people in our system that were enough, right? Enough to withstand the pressure from the West, and therefore KGB was receiving authorizations, right? Needed green lights to go and do some stuff, and they were doing some crazy stuff, man, out there, right? Entire books being written about secret operations that were conducted by either Russian GRU or FSB and different units, right? Um, in different parts of this world. Unique operations, by the way, and that's what is being declassified. There's probably 10 times more than that have not been declassified yet. So during the Soviet Union, it was different. The leadership of Soviet Union was capable of greenlighting secret services, but current leadership of Russia is not capable of greenlighting Russian security services and militaries for whatever reasons, right? But yeah, there is no green light, so therefore, what Russian FSB can do, man, or Russian GRU, what they gonna do? They have no order, right? If they do anything without order, then they're gonna go in prison. So, you know, because these are security services, right? They cannot make a single step without authorization, because we are talking about little force, right? Absolutely little force, and there is a subordination, strict subordination in the place for a reason. But they are very capable, man. I personally have no doubts that Russian military intelligence, Russian FSB, Russian um, foreign intelligence service are very capable. Leadership, is a political appointees, right? But when it comes to officers on lower level, middle level, high level, oh, they are extremely, extremely capable, by the way. But top leadership, they are political appointees of Putin. So therefore, I have no expectations from that top leadership, right? But rest, man, very different story. Uh, Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, Wayward. And there was also, let's react on this super chat. Does anyone have any idea what is the economic damage done to Russia with all these US NATO drone strikes on energy infrastructure, e-commerce, and other areas? How has Putin allowed it go this far? And yeah, I don't know how and why Putin allowed this to happen, but when it comes to actual numbers of damage that was done to Russian Federation with this long range attacks that NATO countries are orchestrating, I have not seen no numbers about it. Right, Russian media has not published no data about it, and probably will not publish for quite a while. But damage is in tens of billions of dollars, obviously, right? Damage that was done to Russian Federation is in tens of billions of dollars, maybe hundreds of billions of dollars. I don't know, but it definitely, only in case of Wildberries, damage is in billions of dollars, potentially dozens of billions. Only in case of Wildberries. And when it comes to overall damage throughout these years, we're definitely talking about hundreds of billions, most likely. But yet again, special study done by economists or results of the special study done by economists have not been published yet. Or at least I have not seen anything in the Russian media about it. One day we will find out, but now, of course, the Kremlin will block that kind of information, administration, because you can understand how society will react on it. So, but damage is tremendous. I mean, this cannot be denied. Still, compared to Russian economies, might of the Russian economy, this damage, I think, still is scratching the surface. Although it is very visible, very painful, right? But still, compared to Russian economy, this juggernaut, of course, this strikes, no matter how painful, despite all their pain and their negative consequences, is just a scratching of the paint on the surface, right? Because Russian economy, especially in terms of PPP, by the way, is just massive. It's biggest in Europe, right? Much bigger than any other European country, and much more resilient than any other European country. That's how it was built, right? And I mean, there are some experts out there that are saying that even Russian government has no freaking idea how big the Russian economy actually is, right? Because significant portion of the economy is still in shadow. You see, I spotted their bigger, capital letters from Smoky Sally. I have to react on it. Levan, do you know anything more about their flutter buildings in the DPR? Well, unfortunately, I guess, sir, you are talking about Smoky Sally, about her attack on Donetsk, isn't it? With Storm Shadow Scalp PG missiles that was conducted day before yesterday, right? And initially there was reports about significant casualties as a result of that attack. Later on, that those posts, that information on Telegram channels, for example, were deleted. On websites of media outlets were deleted also, and Denis Pushilin statement replaced it. Right, Denis Pushilin stated, head of DPR, stated that 8 people were injured as a result of that attack in the central part of Donetsk. I guess you are talking about this subject, isn't it, Smoke Sally? And well, given their scale of attack, I spoke about it yesterday and day before, or day before. Given their scale of attack, given the damage that was done on the place, and I see some videos, by the way, given the number of these missiles that were used by hostile side, by British and French in this particular case, if it was actually Storm Shadow and Scalp EG missiles. I've seen video, by the way. You can clearly see missiles landing, right? But quality is quite poor, and I was unable to visually identify the missile. I mean, if I see Storm Shadow missiles picture in a good quality, I will identify it straight away. But in that video, I was unable to visually identify it. It was a cruise missile, clearly. So according to some reports, 5 to 8 missiles struck the area. And because initially there was reports about massive casualties, then this information was deleted and replaced by Pushilin's statement that there was only 8 casualties. Therefore, I think something different had happened, right? Maybe point of concentration of Russian militaries were struck. Maybe point of concentration of Russian officers was struck. Maybe there was some delegation from Moscow, and that delegation was struck. But whatever the case, information is being kind of classified, and no one is talking about it publicly. Publicly, there is no discussion about that strike in the center of Donetsk that happened literally like day before yesterday, 2 days ago. So I and Smoky Sally is also commenting. That is a lot of huge missiles, and it is Smoky Sally giving their images, initial images that were available for a short time. Damage was tremendous, right? Damage was tremendous. So therefore, when Denis Pushilin come up with a statement that only 8 people were wounded, there, of course, so that statement could not be taken for face value, given the number of missiles and the devastation that those missiles caused. So, who was exactly the target, or what was exactly the target of this attack, Smoke Sally? I don't know. Maybe concentration of militaries, maybe concentration of officers, maybe delegation, some high-ranking delegation from Moscow. I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, intelligence for that strike was definitely from the U.S., from the western side, and their missiles themselves were, according to Pushilin, Storm Shadow, Scalp EG. So that strike could not happen without direct involvement of French and British intelligence and the militaries. I don't know any more than I already shared, Smoky Sally, because there is no information out there about that attack. Maybe after some time, we will have some more data, but right now, difficult to say. And there are some speculations, of course, out there on internet, but I would not go deep into that field because I need to have more data to say something with confidence. I see Nidish is commenting, Luan, I heard they fired Onyx at Odessa. Did they intercept even one of them? It's important for us to know about it. Onyx is a hypersonic missile, isn't it? They're not going to be able to intercept Onyx. I never heard Onyx being intercepted, really. I never heard any hypersonic missiles were intercepted. Kiev regime claimed that they intercept Kinzhals and stuff, but I just don't believe in that. Honestly, I don't think Kiev regime ever intercepted any Russian hypersonic missile, either Onyx or Kinzhal. So It's a hypersonic stuff. Kiev regime cannot intercept or struggles to intercept ballistic missiles that are relatively slow. How they, how those Patriot PAC-3 missiles going to intercept hypersonic weapons that are creating this plasma before them, right? So that they could not even be detected by the radars. So if you are unable to detect the incoming projectile, you cannot track it, you cannot have a firing solution either, right? And then again, to intercept hypersonic missile, you need a specifically designed rocket, interceptor rocket. For example, in S500, missiles that are intercepting hypersonic uh, missiles, they are specifically designed to intercept hypersonic missiles, and those rockets only will be launched by S500 to intercept hypersonic targets. They're not going to be used against ballistic targets because it's not their job. So no, I have not heard anything about or any actual evidences of any Russian hypersonic missile being intercepted, either Kinjal, either Onyx. They don't even. I don't think they can even track it, man. So let's continue, dear friends. Let's continue, and well, if I may, I will continue with recommendations, more recommendations from. Um, I will continue with the more recommendations from Christopher, and then super chats again, and so let me copy their super chat, dear friends, to make sure that I'm not gonna miss it. And well, when it comes to super chat recommendations, when it comes to recommendations, thank you, Christopher, once again for your recommendations and donations through um, PayPal. And Christopher is recommending to take a look at the Sveta from Russia channel, on which latest video, or one of the latest videos, are on the name Flying to Russia 2026. Be prepared for this. So it's a travel channel, I guess, right? And if you are planning to travel to Russia, might be useful. And if you are not planning to travel to Russia, it could be interesting anyways, right? Also, Christopher is recommending how we are managing to watch all these videos, Christopher. I mean, I'm struggling to closely follow the updates of quite a few channels that I'm actually following, right? Because I struggle with time management. But anyways, thank you for your recommendations, of course. Sanctions Buster, Aeroflot turns to new MRO Kupol system replacing Swiss Amos. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Altitude Addicts. Thank you for sharing, Christopher. There is another recommendation with Article 5 NATO loses Lawrence Wilkerson and their LT. And Colonel Daniel Davis. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called the Daniel Davis Deep Diver. Of course, all of you are familiar, dear friends, with this channel and with the work of Daniel Davis. I definitely also recommend this updater and the channel itself. Also, Christopher is recommending Murat San latest update. Murat San, that's the channel, by the way. You can see it and just search it. Russians seized the Western tanker. Do you know what they found inside there? That's the topic of their video, and yeah, that's quite intriguing headline for sure. This video can be seen on the Murat San. I wonder which tank this video is about. Abrams or Leopard 2. Maybe did they capture Challenger? I don't think any Challengers were captured in intact or more or less intact way. only two or three of them were destroyed, isn't it? Challengers. And then Brits just removed those Challenger tanks from their line of contact. They are just too bad, man, those Challengers. Also, Christopher is recommending to take a look at the updater on the channel, their Peacemonger, which has already 18.9 thousand subscribers, by the way. Remember when Christopher first time recommended this channel, they had like 14 or 15,000 subscribers. They are growing quite fast, isn't it? Quite rapidly. Maybe with the help of Christopher and our community, you know. Colonel Jackus Boulder, the Russian art of war, why the West has no strategy and Ukraine is losing. That's the headline of the video. I guess it will be interesting to take a look at it. And thank you for these recommendations, Christopher. There is a few more recommendations there, but before I will get to it, let's react on some super chats. Although first, I will thank Nautilus once again. Thank you, Nautilus, for your premium subscription gift card which on Rumble, which is a $5 donation, of course. Thank you. And dear friends, did I drop the link to my Rumble channel today? I forget it, isn't it? I will drop it now in a YouTube chat. This is link, should be visible at this moment. This is a link to my Rumble channel, dear friends. If you have an account there, please subscribe, and maybe you will decide to to join this after party, let's say, this community chat after the news segment when we have a conversation. Members of our community are highlighting certain topics. I'm reacting on it. They are supporting my work and also helping big time to make even more interesting programs, right? So maybe you will join. You can use super chat, of course, premium subscription gift card there. And so once again, Nautilus, thank you very much for your premium subscription gift card on Rumble. And let me react on this super chat now. Scooby, thank you very much for your super chatter, for your super chats on Rumble and the donations. I think I did not miss no super chatter, correct? Great. Great. I will start from here to keep chronology. So once again, thank you, Scooby, for your super chats and donation and support. Scooby is commenting with the same kind of corrupt media, politics, economics. How is Russia not going to decline along with the West? Well, that's a good question, isn't it? That's a good question. We don't even have some ideology, right? That would be any like based on something authentic, right? Everything Russian elites are doing, they're just copying their Western counterparts, right? Mostly. So yes, this is a big question, Scooby, and maybe hostility of the Western ruling class. Maybe hostility of Western ruling class will force Russian elites, Russian society, and the Federation to basically upgrade itself, right? To survive, basically. Maybe this hostility, extreme hostility from the West, will force us to become better. Could be case, isn't it? But this is a very deep question, very, very serious question. And Philosophers probably will talk about this hours and hours and hours. Um, but I mean, in short, yeah, maybe this pressure from the West, insane aggression from the West, and their instinct of survival will force Russian society, including ruling class elites, to just be better, right? In order to survive. I don't know. But in many ways, of course, I mean, there are massive similarities between West and Russia. Massive similarities. Uh, you know, Russian elites were created by Western ruling class, isn't it? Modern Russian elites, most of it, political elites, economical elites, most of it was created during the Yeltsin time, right? When Western ruling class was in total control of Russia. So why should anybody be surprised that there is quite a similarities there, really? But now, because of this, we are facing this enormous, totally insane level of aggression, hostility from the West. Maybe this will force us to just to modernize ourselves somehow. You know, I don't know. And also, Scooby is commenting uh, tangent tangent of their salmonella story. Levan is their COVID outbreak in Moscow and how accepting is Russia's citizens of Sputnik V. What? There is a COVID outbreak here in Moscow now? Seriously? I mean, or you just asking? No, there is no outbreak. By the way, I mean, I've heard just from you now anything about it. When it comes to Sputnik V, well, I'm vaccinated with Sputnik V actually. When there was a pandemic, I was working in one of the biggest companies in the field there, in that specific field here in Russia, and it was a requirement, right? Either I have to take unpaid leave, or if I wanted to work and make some money, I had to vaccinate myself, and I did it. I vaccinated myself, and I also recommended to my mom to be vaccinated. I did not have to vaccinate myself. I already had a COVID by that time, right? So I had a natural immunity to it, right? Due to antibodies and stuff. Uh, but that was a requirement from the job. So yeah, I decided, yeah, okay, and I vaccinated, and I recommend to my mom, but my wife and my kids were not vaccinated. You know, and their attitude towards Sputnik V was, initially due to all sorts of fear mongering propaganda from all sides. Maybe some people were hesitant, but I never really had any fear about it. Really, I just vaccinated myself. I had a fever for not even a day, for several hours. Not even same day, next day after vaccination. I think something like that, and that's it, really. And I recommend it to my mom because people with their more or less significant age. My mom is young, of course, but still has some age, and uh, just in case to stay on the safe side, I recommended her to get the vaccine, and she did, by the way, right? Which was a good decision, good call, I think, because elderly people were actually struggling with this virus, but young people, they went through this virus like ordinary grippe, how you say it, ordinary flu. I myself, well, when I get COVID, I did not feel any difference from ordinary flu. You know what was the different after that for about half a year, by the way. Any food that contained the onion was smelling to me was or smell of any food that were containing onion was like a smell of burning rubber. So you can imagine, by the way, right? I could not eat properly because it was smelling like every food that has onion, and onion is in every freaking dish, right? Practically. That was that specific aftermath of COVID for me. That about 6 months, more than maybe 6 months even, I could not freaking eat properly, right? Because of this stuff, man. That all foods that had their onion was smelling like a freaking burning rubber or caoutchouc or something. So, yeah, I mean, there is no issues with the Sputnik vaccine. Russia does vaccines differently, by the way, right, than the West. So Russian vaccines are much more safer than Western vaccines. Therefore, technology is different since the Soviet era, by the way. There is a different schools, right? How these vaccines are made, and I think Soviet Russian school is definitely much more advanced, better than the Western school. In the West, they are experimenting with the live virus, which is crazy, right? Insane. But anyways, I mean, let their virologists or virusologists talk about this matter in the details. But right now, there is no pandemic. I never heard nothing about outbreak of COVID. It's like a flu, isn't it? You might get COVID there. You would not even know. It's just like a flu. Thank you for sharing, Scooby, and thank you very much, Atomic Ray. This was from Atomic Ray, second one. Goodness me, man. I'm a little bit tired, isn't it? So thank you very much, Atomic Ray, for your super chat and donation, and thank you very much, Scooby. And also there was more super chats. Scooby is commenting. Everyone is talking about their unprecedented intervention in U.S. bond market lately. If Besant makes mistakes, this could be largest impact on global affairs in decades. And well, I mean, in this field, Scooby, I have a gut feeling that you know much more than I do. You somehow mentioned that you pay big attention to financial education, financial systems, and stuff. I'm definitely far away from a financial system, but that little knowledge that I have about field, based on that little knowledge that I have about this field, all I can say is that yes, if Besant, I mean, he's not gonna do some crazy stuff. I mean, not he might talk crazy stuff, but neither him or especially head of U.S. Central Bank, by the way, gonna do any crazy. They're not gonna jeopardize. They're not gonna jeopardize their own bond markets, and if anything, they will be more focused on Japan, right? I mean, you see, Smokey Sally is commenting. Besant is a twice failed hedge fund manager, which is factually accurate statement, right? So he might say anything he wants, and even try to adopt some policies, but there is a mechanisms in place to keep systems safe from this kind of imbeciles, right? I don't think U.S. will either lower the percent interest rates anytime soon, right? Uh, If anything, they will probably further increase interest rates in order to indirectly assist Japan. Because I think everybody is more focused now on Japan, isn't it? Because Japanese money is becoming more expensive and expensive, and if Japan starts increasing their interest rate, then that might actually trigger collapse on a world financial of the world financial system, isn't it? Because everyone has taken loans from Japan almost under the zero interest rate, and now if Japan will start rising interest rate, then of course everybody might start selling their freaking assets, right? Uh, and that means probably logically, I mean, US gonna lose a tremendous volume of investments, right? They're gonna be massive outflow of money, which eventually will, I don't know, man. It's just too complicated, isn't it? But topic is very important because maybe we are just a year away or several years away from a massive financial collapse, global financial collapse. Maybe. But yet again, there are certain topics, obviously, that I have very little knowledge about. So therefore, it is difficult for me to have a strong opinions. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, Scooby. And let's react on super chats. There, as I said, not super, first on more recommendations from Christopher, and then super chats again. So thank you, Christopher, again for your recommendations. This another one is about Stanislav Krapivnik's channel, which has a 72.3K subscribers. Ukraine's economy is under pressure. What is happening to exports? Krapivnik and Al-Khorshid. There is a conversation, by the way, about it on Stanislav Krapivnik's channel. Also, Christopher is recommending the Hidden Realm channel. Nostradamus predicted these 7 disasters for 2026. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called the Hidden Realm. THR. 29.9K subs. And dear friends, if you are interested in all sorts of these predictions and stuff from Nostradamus and some other figures, you might find this channel very interesting, because I guess that's the focus of the channel. Also, Russia's new IL-78 tanker appears without military markings. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Altitude Addicts. And this must be interesting. IL-78, I'm quite sure, is based on IL-76. Soviet era transporter aircraft. Although not sure about it, difference. If you take a look at the video, you know, you might of course you will find out. Is it based on IL-76? Most likely. Also, Russia adds more Su-35S fighters. Its air power keeps growing. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Tapur Update, which has 81.9K subs. And by the way, it was yesterday or day before, isn't it, that I reported about new batch of Su-35S fighter jets being transferred to Russian aerospace forces. And I guess on this channel you will see video of that transfer. So you can take a look at that brand new Russian 4++ generation Su-35 fighter jets, which are best fighter jets in this class, 4++. generation, in my personal opinion. I know US citizens might argue that FAEX is best. Maybe French members of our community will argue that no, it's French Rafale is best. Chinese members of our community might argue that I don't know, Chinese flankers, Chinese copies of Soviet Russian Su-27s, Su-30s are the best, or J-10, for example. That is domestic design, I think, although it does looks like a mix of a Eurofighter and F-16. But anyways, right? Swedish members of our community might say, no, our Saab Gripen is our best fourth generation fighter jet, but I personally think it's Su-35S, best multi-role fighter jet of all times when it comes to 4++ generation. Anyways, Tapur Update, that's the name of the channel, dear friends, where you can see that video. And also, Christopher is recommending to take a look at their video on the Dialogue Works highlights channel. This is a channel, secondary channel of Dialogue Works with the clips from the main program. Scott Ritter, breaking CIA in Moscow as Ukraine war hits a wall. Topic of discussion is, I guess, this CIA director visiting in Moscow. So that's the recommendations from Christopher. Thank you, Christopher, for your recommendations and donations through PayPal. Thank you very much. And dear friends, I already reacted on it. Let's continue with the super chats. Well, there is one super chat, right? This one. And I guess that's it. Let me check, by the way. Let me check. To make sure that I did not miss no. So yes, this is last super chatter for now. And thank you, Scooby, again for your super chatter. Word is that Putin rejected what the CIA asked of him, short meeting and planned follow-up meetings with Iranian officials. Scooby is commenting. I don't know. I mean, I think main reason why CIA director came to Moscow and had a meeting with Putin, most definitely, and some other high-ranking officials, was to deliver some specifics about that are related to possible freezing of the conflict before we will get to that final part of their possible deal, actual freezing of the conflict, or cessation of hostility or ceasefire. Of course, some other steps have to be taken to prepare the ground. And I think Radcliffe delivered their details about those other steps. Right? I spoke about it yesterday, day before yesterday. There's no point to repeat myself, really. If I'm correct, we will see it in next several weeks. If I'm with the very rapid progress of the Russian forces in the DPR, right, in Slavyansk direction, possibly Kramatorsk direction, Druzhkovka direction too, or that other settlement, we will see it in DPR in several weeks. And if I'm wrong, by the way, then I'll be first who will say that I was wrong in my reading of that particular situation, right? Let's wait a couple of weeks. I believe, of course, this 1 hour or 2 hour, whatever time they actually have a discussion, is not enough to go into details when it comes to some major topics, right? This visit did not intend to go into details. Redcliffe delivered some specifics on very specific matter, and same time, maybe they exchanged some takes on several topics. Iran definitely could be one of those topics. Um, Israel, Syria, for sure. One way or another, they could discuss some topics that are related to Israel, Syria, and Iraq, and Iran too. Right? This is all related, by the way. Also, topic of U.S. citizens that are in a prison here in Russia, possibly in Belarus, or Western assets that may not be U.S. citizens but are citizens of other Western countries, or are assets of the Western secret services, right? So that's a topic too. But to say that Putin rejected whatever CIA chief or CIA boss asked him, I mean, based on what we can make such conclusions? Honestly, Scooby, I mean, I know there is a lot of speculations on the matter, and it's all good, by the way, right? When we have not enough information, we are just trying to understand what's going on based on the information that is available, and sometimes we are correct, sometimes we are not. So seeking the truth is a good stuff, obviously, right? This drive to understand, but and so same time, I really don't see any reasons to make such a conclusion, for example, that Putin rejected anything really that Redcliffe asked for or proposed or something. If anything, like next day, or it was next day, isn't it? Yeah, next day, Putin had a phone conversation with the head of Damascus regime, Al-Julani, right? Now Lukashenko is in Russia. He arrived yesterday. There was some other reports that indicates that some movements have happened, right? Something is happening. Gerasimov visited the southern group of forces and spoke exactly about Kramatorsk, Slaviansk directions. I mean, like literally day before I shared, or 2 days after, not before, but 2 days after I shared initially my takes on this CIA boss visit and what we might expect, what might happen. And I spoke quite a lot about DPR, isn't it? And stuff. So we will see. But as of now, I definitely don't see no reason to believe that Putin rejected anything. Situation is moving towards freezing of the conflict. I mean, it's just, to me, it's just too obvious, right? Definitely certain steps have to be taken before the process will get to actual cessation of the hostilities, actual ceasefire, right? And from now to next several weeks, we will observe preparations of the ground with some very serious moves. That's what I think. And also, dear friends, there was two more. Thank you, Scooby, for sharing. And there was two more super chats from Scooby. Let me highlight these super chats. And also, just a minute ago, I saw a commentary, by the way, from Atomic Ray. It was, I believe, and I lost it. Where is that comment now? Um, okay. And there, as I said, dear friends, there was a two more uh, two more super chats from Scooby. This is one. Thank you again, Scooby, for your support and super chats. And Scooby is commenting. I hope you are wrong. I don't want Russia to have sacrificed so much for Minsk 3. And Scooby, I hope I am wrong too. You can't imagine how how much I hope that I am wrong, man, and how painful for me even it is to even talk about this, man. Right? Morally painful. I mean, or spiritually, how you say it. But unfortunately, that's how I read their situation, right? So you know, sometimes we just we are analyzing situation and we are coming up with such a reading that is unpleasant, painful, but same time, I mean, we have to face the reality and it is what it is. Reality not always pleasant. You know, so I mean, let's hope I am wrong, man. I really hope for that. And as I said, I'll be first in if what I have predicted in regards to DPR, let's say, right, Slavyansk, for example. If nothing like that will happen from now to parliamentary elections here in Russia, I will be first that will say, "Thanks God I was wrong. Thanks God I was wrong, man." That's what I will say, and I hope I am wrong. You know. And there was another super chat from Scooby F Zionism, and yeah, 100%. F Zionism and all those Zionist genocidal maniacs, 100%, right? Uh, that's my taker, like since forever. So therefore, uh, we are on the same page, Scooby, on that particular topic. And thank you very much once again, Scooby. Many thanks to Atomic Ray. Many thanks to Wayward, of course. Nautilus, and everybody. Many thanks to everybody, the friends, whoever supported and continues to support my work. And well, before I go, dear friends, before I go, let me once again drop. A Rumble link in the YouTube chat, right? So, dear friends, if you have a Rumble account, and even if you don't, please create one and join our community on Rumble. And yes, have a wonderful Friday, everybody. Have a wonderful, great upcoming weekend. Take care and see you next time. Bye for now. Thank you all, dear friends, for your support and attention. Thank you.